Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Matthews, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at AdvisoCon, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar, How to Maximize Your Visuals in Microsoft Visio. Here at AdvisoCon, we are a group of authors, teachers, consultants, and technologists who are passionate about helping others learn, scale, and grow with a mix of methodology and technology to deliver results. And recently, AdvisoCon has stepped into a new area, using project management for community involvement by integrating a nonprofit and community outreach department. We offer free bi-weekly webinars that we refer to as Webinar Wednesdays, in which we spend 30 minutes to an hour teaching topics ranging from Microsoft Project, Project Server, Project Online, Power BI, Visio, SharePoint, to project program and portfolio management and methodology approaches. With attending any of our training sessions, we offer PDUs as well as being a registered education provider with the Project Management Institute. At the close of today's session, I will give some instructions on how you can claim those PDUs and how to contact AdvisoCon for any questions you may have. Now, before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things so you know how to participate in today's event. So if you could please review the control menu that should be at the top right of your screen. This control panel gives you the option to adjust the volume and adjust most of your other settings. The audience will be muted during this session, so in order to ask a question, you can enter that into the chat window or the question window of the control panel. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Ken Lowen, our Director of Client Solutions here at AdvisoCon. And so without further ado, I'll hand this presentation over and we can get this webinar started.
Thanks very much, Amanda, and hello everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. As we get started with today's webinar, I also want to give you the opportunity to register for a webinar that we're conducting tomorrow for 2 hours, a much deeper dive into how to integrate Visio with Microsoft Project. One of our project advisors, Eric Odegaard, a colleague of mine, is going to be presenting that webinar, and so there is a registration code on the screen here, VisPro10, that you can use on our events site at advisocon.com/events to register and get a 10% discount on tomorrow's webinar. So hopefully today's is going to give you a great happy feeling after spending about a half an hour working with Visio, and you'll be anxious to dig in even more deeply with Eric tomorrow. So look forward to that presentation. Today, our agenda, we're going to do an overview and a tour of Visio. We're going to talk about why we're using the term maximizing visuals in our title of the webinar, and we're going to look at some specific techniques and tools that we have within Visio for being much more effective in our visual presentation of information using Visio. In the event that we have some time left over, we will address questions. If we don't get to them, we'll be more than happy, as Amanda said, to follow up with you after the fact by email. As we get started, just so that I know how to really effectively target this to you, let's take a look at a poll question here. So I would love to know what kind of experience you each have with Visio. So here comes the poll question. Let's take a look at that. And why don't you let me know? So Visio, what's that? I'm here for the free food. I opened it once by mistake and got registered automatically for this webinar. I've used it a few times, use it occasionally. I use Visio frequently. I'm looking forward to seeing if the results of this poll question for our group today is similar to those that I've had when I present this topic previously. Looks like we're getting a good segment of our attendance voting. We've got over 80%, so I'm going to take the opportunity to close the poll now. And okay, let's take a look and share these results with you. So as you can see, Over half use Visio occasionally. About a third I'm thrilled to see use Visio frequently, and a small segment I'm really glad that you've had the opportunity to use it a little bit of time, and hopefully I give you some tips and tricks that you're able to greatly expand your use of Visio going forward. It's a great tool. Really enjoy working with it, and hope that I'm able to inject some of my excitement for it and some of the great techniques that I've found for using Visio to you. First of all, let's talk about how you can get Visio. Microsoft has made some fantastic strides recently in increasing the accessibility across your organization, and that should make both you and your colleagues really happy. You now can license Visio through Office 365 under two plans. The Visio Online Plan 1 is targeted at users maybe like that segment of folks who've used it a few times and don't use it a lot, who need to create and share diagrams in a browser. We'll look at the functionality that you have from Visio creation in a browser. It is web only, and it's a subset of the overall feature set, but it's a really good subset. It will really enable a lot of folks who have a need to draw diagrams and want some of the power of Visio, even if they don't currently know about some of the power of Visio, to do this effectively. With Visio Online Plan 2, this is the one that those of you who have the Visio client installed on your PC are already familiar with. You've got access to the fully functional Visio Professional desktop client, and you additionally have access to Visio in the web. So through your Office 365 user ID, if you happen to be working on a tablet or a conference room PC or something that doesn't happen to have the desktop client installed in it, you still can get to Visio in the web, create the diagram that you want, save it to your OneDrive for Business, and then go back to your desk, work on it more either in the web or using the desktop client. You've got all of the capabilities in there, including data linking, including the ability to create and apply backgrounds to your individual pages in your Visio diagram, and so on. So we'll take a look at those again in a few minutes. One more thing is that Visio is now readable for free in the web for any user. So even users who do not have the Visio Online Plan 1 are able to natively view your Visio diagrams using a web browser. That greatly increases the efficiency and effectiveness of those of us who are working with Visio, because we no longer are mandated to create a PDF coming out of creating our Visio diagram so that we can share the PDF with others. This just makes it a lot more easy, a lot more seamless to share it, and allows us to expose our diagrams quickly and easily to senior stakeholders in the organization or the wide population of our organization that don't currently have or need a full-time Visio license. Okay, let's go on into Visio. Before we get to our client, let me pull over my browser window here. And so this happens to be Internet Explorer. It could be Chrome. It could be, for that matter, Safari. And when I go to basically office.live.com, or I go into here, my Microsoft Office 365 homepage, I look at all of the apps that are available to me, and I zero in on my Visio app here at the bottom of my screen, click on that, and that takes me into this Visio Online window where I have a gallery of the recent Visio diagrams that I have edited. I've got access to popular templates that I'm used to seeing in my Visio desktop client, so that I can start off quickly on a basic flow chart, a block diagram, network diagrams, and so on, and leverage the power of Visio in my web browser. I can create a basic diagram by just clicking on there, and Visio will ask me to authenticate with my Office 365 credential, and you'll see up in the browser tab, it is actually creating right here a standard Visio extension file that I can see in my web browser. I can hover over my various shapes and drag one across to my document, and you'll see that my auto connect points have popped up automatically when I hover over that shape, so that I can auto connect this to another rectangle and another rectangle and so on. So I can be working with different stencils. So over here in the left side of my window, I've got, this is the basic shapes that I have open here. I've got arrows, hover over this, and I've got some math shapes. So maybe I'm going to create a diagram representing some mathematical equations. I've got banners, and I've got some call-outs, as well as an interesting set of symbols. So Microsoft obviously has given some thought to what is the broad segment of the audience that has access to the web browser but not to the Visio desktop client, and the types of diagrams they're going to want to create using the more powerful capabilities that Visio has in comparison with other tools that have traditionally been used for diagramming, such as, for example, PowerPoint. Certainly has its place in our toolkit, but for diagramming, I have long preferred Visio, and I think as we go forward, you will find a lot to recommend it to you. We've got a standard menu up here, so we've got our ability to insert pictures, both from our PC and from the web. We've got the ability to set page orientation to landscape or portrait. We can change the color themes that we're using. We can change the behavior of our connectors. We can put review comments on these. One of the things that Microsoft has recognized that eventually at some point we may get to the point that we need additional capabilities here. And so it's one click here to take this diagram and edit it in our Visio desktop client. So mine's opening up in my other screen. So I'll drag it over here in just a second as soon as it finishes opening. And here it comes, just waiting for it to finish opening itself up. And there we go. Okay, so I can draw this over here, and you'll see I've got my same file name. I've got the diagram in process just as I created it, and I've got access to exactly the same shapes and stencils. I can expand my more shapes here, and you'll be able to see the additional power of stencils that I have available to me in my Office 365 installation of Visio on my PC. So all the power that we expect to have in Visio. And we've transitioned quickly and easily from the web over to the desktop client. I can save this into my OneDrive for Business. I can email the diagram, and others can use it. So looking at our client tour, let's take a look at, we've got our standard Office ribbon that has all of the features and functionality that we are used to using. We can create new Visio diagrams using the featured stencils or templates that are installed on our individual workstation. And you'll see that we've got a push pin next to each one of these templates as you hover over it that allows you to pin your most frequently used diagrams up to this upper left corner so that you can come back to them much more frequently. Visio will reorder this dynamically based on the ones that you're using, so that you will expect to see the ones that you used most recently easily accessible. There are a couple of new ones that we'll look at as we go through here. You've also got a really powerful capability up here to search for online templates. And so if we search for example, network, and what we'll see is not only the templates that are on board in our Visio installation, which are powerful and varied, but we also see partner content. So Microsoft partners can create templates that are specific to, for example, hotels or audiovisual event managers. Rack-mounted IP telephony equipment is here. And so what you'll find with these and many other stencils is that you have an accurate representation in the diagram of the physical equipment that would be installed in your organization. I've even seen some of these where the colored indicator lights on the Visio stencil are responsive to data linking, so that you can, using the techniques we'll talk about in a little while, link your Visio diagram to network accessible data and thereby mirror what's going on in a communications closet or other equipment installation in a Visio diagram that you're displaying maybe in a monitor in a particular room or on your screen or on a SharePoint page, and thereby use the data linking capabilities that Visio has to effectively help you monitor your infrastructure and other equipment. So creating the diagrams. Let's take a look at another one of the techniques. Probably up in your upper left corner is the quick access toolbar. Mine I've got down here below the ribbon so that it's easily accessible to me when I'm navigating my diagram. I can get to key features and functions quickly and easily. So if you're using certain buttons like your undo and redo buttons, you can make them hold pride of place here in your quick access toolbar by just clicking the drop down item at the edge of the toolbar. In this case, I could shift mine back up above the ribbon if I chose to, and accessing those functions quickly and easily. One of the functions that I've demonstrated a moment ago is that auto connect function. And if you're not already using it, I want to recommend it to you. The trick to using the auto connect function is that there are two places you've got to make sure it's turned on. So let's go into our backstage view by clicking on the file entry on our ribbon, and we're going to go in and select down at the bottom of the backstage view here, options. And in options, I want to point out a couple of different items for you in configuration that I've found useful. If you find it useful when you open Visio for it to show you all of the templates of Visio diagrams, you'll want to turn on Show the Start Screen. If instead you want Visio to open with a blank diagram, as mine did, then leave Show the Start Screen turned off. Moving on down to the Advanced tab, one of the points that I want to point out to you is this Enable Auto Connect. And so this is Enable Auto Connect right there. You'll want to turn that on here. And then for those of you who have been in our AdvisoCon Webinar Wednesday sessions looking at tips and tricks in Microsoft Project, you'll know that you have 99 levels of undo available to you in Project. You also have 99 levels of undo available to you here in Visio. And so I strongly recommend you take that off of the default 20 undos up to 99. Just a reminder, if you turn on auto save, it will wipe out that undo memory, so you may want to consider not doing it, or recognize that on whatever cycle time that you save your auto recover information in Visio, you'll lose the ability to take benefit of those 99 levels of undo. Okay, so we've enabled auto connect in our options. We're also going to go up to our view ribbon, and on the view ribbon there is a auto connect checkbox here also. So you need to have this turned on in both places for you to be able to use auto connect. And what happens with auto connect is that you hover over a diagram or a shape on your diagram, and you get these auto connect arrows right here at the 4 cardinal points of your diagram. And if you hover then over the auto connect arrow, you're going to get a suggestion or selection of shapes. And what you're seeing in that selection of shapes, if you saw the circle and the pie slice, you come over here and what you'll find in your stencil is that there are some shapes that are above a dividing line. The shapes that appear above the dividing line are the ones that appear for your auto connect. So if you're back here working on your basic shapes and you come hover over your diagram, you get your auto connect. What you get are the top 4 shapes in your stencil over here: rectangle, square, ellipse, and circle. If I want to change those, I can take, for example, this hexagon up, make it one of those shapes, and then you'll see that the last shape in this is that hexagon. So you've got the flexibility to make Visio serve you easily and effectively with tools and techniques that are going to help make you much more effective and efficient at working with Visio in your diagramming. So we want to recommend, in terms of tools and techniques for being efficient and effective, use the templates. Visio has a lot of great templates available to you in here, so when you go File New, you're going to see some great templates. The templates that you have in here that you see have, for example, the Excel symbol. This is a basic flow charting like the one right here, but it has data linking via Excel. And so that's already set up for you. So a lot of powerful, great templates available to you. In addition to working with your templates, I want to recommend a great technique. If you've never worked with a background page, one of the great techniques that Visio has available to it is the idea of a background page. And so I'm going to insert a new page in here, and I'm going to add in my Advisicon company logo to it. Here's a copy of the logo quickly and easily. I certainly don't need it quite that big. So we will shrink it down. And I'm going to zoom out quite a bit so that I can shrink this down much more quickly. And we're going to bring that into our diagram and then zoom back into it. I'm using my control button on my keyboard and my mouse wheel. I'll also point out I could use the zoom slider that appears over here, or I can use the fit page to the current window. So let's do that and show how that works. With this also, then I'm going to add in a box, and we're just going to put that box there, and I'm going to make it filled with nothing, and I'm going to make the line a little bit bolder and change the color of the line to my Advisicon teal so that it matches the box. Switch back over to my pointer tool and drag this down so that it is here with my logo. And in fact, I'm going to put it right at the right edge of it. And so now I've got a header box here, and I can insert in a, let's see, what I want to do, I'm going to put a text box in here. So we'll just put some text. And so we're going to put in here process diagram as a title. And we're going to change our text color to black, bold, and expand it a bit. Okay, that's my quick background page. I'm going to right-click then on my page name down here at the bottom, and I'm going to select Page Setup. And with Page Setup, I'm going to tell it that this particular page is a background rather than being a foreground, and I'm going to give it the name background so that I can recognize it. Then I'm going to go to page 1, and I'm going to say for page 1, again, right-click on the tab, set up page, and I'm going to say I'm going to select the background for this page is my page named background, and I will say this is my new process diagram. And so now this diagram is using my header or my footer so that I don't need to manually put that onto each and every page. I can create a new page, and by default, it takes that same mapping over there. So I'm starting off with a footer on the bottom of my diagram. So there are a couple of great tools and techniques that you can use in Visio to make yourself more efficient and effective and really maximize the ability that you have to both create diagrams quickly, share those diagrams across your entire organization, and equip a much broader segment of your organization to create diagrams using the power of Microsoft Visio so that they can be shared across the broader organization. One more quick item that I'd like to show you is Microsoft makes it a lot easier also to provide them with feedback. All of the Microsoft Office applications have got a feedback mechanism through user voice. And so you can send Microsoft feedback about features that work well, features that don't work well, or features that you're looking for. And I am 100% certain that the Microsoft product development teams for various applications use your input via user voice for prioritizing the development work that they do on the various Office applications. It's a great reinforcement of the value Microsoft puts on their customer base when you get an email from somebody that says, hi, I'm at Microsoft, and the feature suggestion you had is now in our product calendar. I've gotten several of those, and it just makes me feel great. Take a look at the modernized shapes that we have in Visio. So things like Office equipment and such like that. You've now got more kind of boardroom ready graphic images. A lot of the templates that we have got starter diagrams in them so that we are easily able to discover the new features and also have new users to Visio pick it up and work with it much more efficiently and effectively. So you can be assured that if you're an experienced user and you send a colleague over to use Visio, they're going to quickly become effective also, and you're not necessarily putting yourself as deeply into the role of being the teacher and user support. So to format your documents, let Visio help you. Use the powerful capabilities that it has. Use the templates and stencils. They're well designed. To improve readability, diagram your process flows so that they read whenever possible left to right, top to bottom, and try to put, if you're looking for a process flow that people are going to be executing on a repeatable basis, if you're using a letter-sized piece of paper, aim for about 8 to 12 tasks per page. That will improve readability. Whenever you're drawing your process diagrams, try to get your arrows to enter on the left and exit on the right. It may make take up a little bit more room in your diagram, but again, it improves readability. Visio's got some powerful align and position functions on the home menu. Make good use of color also. We've got a lot of power in here, and I've done several Visio webinars talking about data linking. You can use data files to build diagrams where you just set up an Excel file with a list of processes, the information in them, and the predecessor and successor relationships between those diagrams or shapes, and Visio will import that and create quickly a diagram that uses those relationships and will allow you then to quickly and easily accelerate your creation of diagrams. So again, youtube.com/c/advisicon/videos, and look for this one that says Webinar Wednesday, How to Use Visio to Create Dynamic Views in SharePoint. Use color. So in summary, use Visio first of all. It's really powerful. It's now even more accessible than it's ever been before. It has very powerful features and capabilities, and I urge you to watch our videos, our webinars, to learn more and more about features as time goes by. Set your Visio defaults so that it's helping you and you find it predictable every time you come in. It's ready for use. Be aware of the fact that you can import and link to data with your Visio diagrams so that they can be responsive to changes in related data sources. One of the favorites that I like to demonstrate is linking up to Project Online so that I can create a diagram that represents either progress through a particular project or status of a series of projects in a dashboard. Share with others. Any others. You can now have anybody using a web browser to view your Visio diagram without having to take the step of walking it through a PDF document. With that, we've touched on all of our topics and we really have burned through our time today. I thank you very, very much for your attention in today's Visio webinar on Webinar Wednesday. I'm now going to hand it off to Amanda to close us out.
Thanks, Ken. So thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, How to Maximize Your Visuals in Microsoft Visio. We welcome your questions, suggestions, and your feedback. For more information, you can email us at contact@advisicon.com. Once you exit today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. You'll need to complete and submit that survey to receive your PDUs. From there, you will receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with your PDU information. So on behalf of Advisicon, Ken, and myself, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you participate in future webinars. Also, Ken, I just want to reiterate our discount that we have for tomorrow's webinar. If you could bring up that slide so they could see the code again. And we'll leave that up for a minute or two after the webinar, so you can get that down at the bottom. You just go to our webinar on our website, advisicon.com, find tomorrow's webinar and register using that code, and you will get 10% off. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, everyone.